On Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, at approximately 2 p.m., Colorado state senators of the state, Veterans, and Military Affairs Committee were presented with the proposed Senate Bill 25047, written to repeal the prohibitions on county sheriffs for coordination with ICE in the pursuit of illegal immigrants who have broken, specifically, the Colorado laws that would lead to arrest.
So Senate Bill 47 does not conscript law enforcement as being agents of ICE. I want to make that clear. That is not what this bill even mentions doing. This is not asking for local law enforcement to become agents of ICE and to be involved in sweeping and looking for people who may be illegally in the country.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I first want to talk about what this bill is not. So what this bill is not, it does not give us the authority to do what's called roundups. It does not cost or allow us to do stop and ask for papers. It does also say, basically, that we must have probable cause through state statutes to make a contact. That's what the bill does do.
To be clear, I have no interest in conducting or participating in family roundups.
We don't believe in, we're not going to go do roundups. Our job is not immigration. That is not our job. Our patrol deputies respond to calls for service regarding criminal activity in our respective counties.
They have to be an arrestee. So someone that just calls into the police and says, I'm the victim of a crime or I witnessed a crime, that doesn't trigger anything about this bill. The statements about roundups, for example. Traffic, those are not arrestable offenses. A parking ticket is not an arrestable offense. Not for local law enforcement. We wouldn't be doing roundups because we need probable cause to arrest a person.
We're not talking about hardworking immigrants that live peacefully and productively here in Colorado. We're talking about those illegal immigrants that are actively involved in criminal activity.
To the question on roundups, I take you, gentlemen, at your word that that's not your intent, but under this bill, you could do that if you wanted to, correct?
Actually, sir, it's wrote in the bill that we could not. So it's in the bill's language that we would not do roundups.
Apparently, after not reading the bill, a senator makes an assumption that follows the party narrative while the proof against it is in the document in front of him.
This bill is proven to erode trust between communities and local law enforcement and creates a chilling effect that decreases public safety, increases fear, and leaves communities less safe and less strong.
SB 2547 would reinstate the draconian anti-immigrant bill, SB 0690, also known as the Show Papers Law, as a compañera shared. From 2006 to 2013, SB 90 generated unimaginable fear and trauma for families like mine and other mixed-status families in the state. In 2012, CERC launched a hotline survey to collect data and found that for every 100 Coloradans deported, 60 of them were detained by ICE for nothing more than a traffic infraction. We are still seeing the repercussions of the infamous Show Me Your Papers law today. In June 2011, Virginia Mancinas was detained by immigration agents after she called 911 for help while being attacked by her husband. For 2 weeks, she was held for immigration in Glenwood Springs and then Leadville, without access to medical attention. Stories like Virginia's point to the ways SB 47 would deter immigrants from reporting a crime or cooperating with local law enforcement if they fear detention and deportation.
My name is Mika Alexander, and I will be reading testimony on behalf of Anaya Robinson, who is the Senior Policy Strategist with the ACLU of Colorado, here today in strong opposition to Senate Bill 2547. Current law is reasonably protective of Colorado state and local governments as well as residents and should not be repealed. Courts have upheld states and localities' constitutional ability to opt out of participating in immigration enforcement. Senate Bill 2547 would open the state and local governments in Colorado up to violations of constitutional protections and would be harmful to families and communities. It's bad policy, and the ACLU of Colorado asks you to vote no on Senate Bill 2547.
When someone becomes the victim of a crime, they expect their local police force to find their perpetrator and bring them to justice. And it doesn't matter if the tip comes from someone with all the correct paperwork. We want people to answer the door when a police officer knocks. That officer might be trying to share or acquire information that could save a life. And it's hard for any reasonable human say they have an accent or a name that isn't European, to get to yes on those questions, if they think the person on the other end of the line might be checking their immigration status.
There were some things said that makes me wonder, if the bill is even read, because it clearly states, page 3, lines 14 through 17, that law enforcement cannot do roundup operations or show me your papers enforcement actions. So if these immigrants are law-abiding citizens, I don't see how this bill would cause any fear in them. Please help me understand if there is something that would.
Senate Bill 25047 contains no language that would allow for roundup or show me your papers actions. Its language actually specifically disallows those actions. Most opposition seem to mistakenly use ICE and law enforcement interchangeably in its testimony. Now, we will explore who Senators Weissman, Sullivan, and Ball, as well as the ACLU, the Human Rights Coalition, the Colorado Fiscal Institute, and other activist groups are acting to protect.
My program has located several people that have been convicted in, say, the Denver County area for burglaries. 2 years later, they're put on parole through Department of Corrections. They're convicted. They're then released, and then they do another crime in Eagle County. They're then convicted of burglary in Eagle County. They're continued to be put on parole through Department of Corrections. They come to my county, they steal a gun, they do multiple burglaries, we arrest that person, they go through my 287G program once they arrive at the jail. And they're identified that this person's from another country, maybe wanted in another country, and at that point, ICE was then involved. But if it hadn't been for them, he would have been released again on parole through Department of Corrections, and then would be preying on more community members.
And these limitations have come at a price of the most innocent in our society. I'll give you a specific example, not a what if, not a maybe. In El Paso County, an undocumented criminal preyed on 3 young girls under the age of 8, 3 young ladies. He sexually assaulted them. We say sexually assault because it sounds less graphic. But to be clear, he raped 3 young girls. My detectives did a great job. My patrol deputies did an amazing job. Enough evidence charged this individual, arrested him, and waited for his bond. He bonded out. I could not hold him. I could not work with ICE to place a detainer. He has never paid for his crimes. The 3 young victims will never have justice because he was never heard of again once he bonded out. Without a doubt, wherever he fled to, likely his country of origin, he is re-victimizing his children. So not only are we allowing these perpetrators to be victimized in communities we're trying to protect through legislation on immigration, we're allowing those to avoid prosecution and victimize and punish those same communities.
I would like to use my time to highlight a specific example that occurred in February of 2024 in my small mountain community. A gentleman was arrested after he committed a sex assault on a 9-year-old girl. This gentleman was of Polish descent. He was taken to our local jail, and before we could even figure out a plan, this gentleman posted bond and was gone. I have no idea where he is. He's most likely not in Grand County. He could be in your community. He could be in anyone's community here in the room today. This person is gone. We have no accountability for him. However, we cannot track him down. He has preyed on people before. He preyed on people in my community, and he's going to prey on people again.
Just so you know, these same criminals also prey on the elderly. Here are 2 cases that we had in Douglas County last year, whereas individuals in this country illegally scammed hundreds of thousands of dollars in gold from residents in Douglas County. Hundreds of thousands of dollars scammed by people here illegally. 2 examples of the gold scam against elderly, and we don't even think about that. But I don't want my mom being ripped off, gold scammed by people from outside this country that are here illegally. So all of us can relate back cases where it involved people here illegally committing crimes.
I can go through the list. Very first jury trial we had when I was DA is an illegal immigrant Venezuelan who was part of a giant multi-jurisdictional retail theft ring. That's real.
In 2022, a young lady was driving to work on a motorcycle. It was dark outside.
And as she approached the intersection that she had the lawful authority to cross without stopping, a car sped through the intersection in front of her. She hit that car, and the individual who was in the vehicle ran away on foot and left her to die alone in that intersection. That young lady was a friend of mine named Alexis. And, the man who hit her was a multiple DUI offender in this country illegally.
Just 2 weeks ago, our sheriff's department arrested 3 individuals in our county. And evidence that was with them led to arrest under vehicle fraud charges with evidence that they were attempting to wash vehicle titles and make stolen vehicles legal somehow, or at least fraudulently illegal so they could attempt to sell them and generate money.
On Tuesday, February 25, 2025, Colorado State Senators Weissman, Sullivan, and Ball, in concert with the ACLU and other activist groups, voted against the tools which would greatly assist law enforcement in preventing cases of multiple burglaries across multiple jurisdictions, the rapes of children under the age of 10, the stealing of the savings of the elderly, multiple counts of drunk driving resulting in hit-and-run deaths, and forgery. They instead chose to place the welfare of criminal illegal aliens over that of the victims and other residents of Colorado. They did so purely because of the undocumented status of the criminals. Teller County Commissioner Dan Williams spoke about the complicity of our government institutions in creating the previous laws that make the people of Colorado less safe.
Gentlemen, I hold your institution, the legislature of Colorado, and the members of this legislature in very high esteem. But frankly, the passage of former Bill House Bill 23-1100 makes us all, including me, complicit in violating federal law. And it keeps us unable to keep our community safe. I sit here and I wonder today if you gentlemen realize if our federal legislators today passed a bill telling us that we could cooperate with Colorado Bureau of Investigation, how would you feel? The rule of law breaks down completely.
We, however, remain steadfastly committed to your safety and security. Though senators like Mike Weissman, Tom Sullivan, and Matt Ball capitulate to activist groups to continue to try to strip away the tools law enforcement needs to succeed, we will endure, so you may know we are always there for you. With you, we are Colorado.